boys and girls, welcome to my channel. I'm For Classic and welcome to BenchART. So for today what I do have it is DreadOut 2. This game it is developed by a studio called Digital Happiness. This is an Indonesia studio, probably one of the first Indonesia studios reaching the international market. They started with DreadOut 1 and they also now have DreadOut 2 and a VR game. So yeah, this is probably the only decent Indonesia studio, video gamer producer that we have, and they seem to focus a lot in horror games. I'm not really sure why, but they seem to try to replicate what it was Fatal Frame or Project, I believe Project Zero, it was the name of those games where you need to shoot ghosts with your camera. But if you are here, you are probably here for the performance, and my recommended settings for this game it is to play with the high settings with the resolution scaling on maximum. So let's start with the requirements. This game recommends an i7, 16 gigs of RAM and the GTX 1050. This is completely absurd since the game barely uses more than 4 gigabytes of RAM, so 8 gigabytes will be more than enough. Also, the game it is not very CPU demanding, so I would just say that GPU it is probably the thing that you need. Also, they do recommend DirectX 12 and the game doesn't have any DirectX 12. But jumping to the results, 1080p with the high settings, what you can expect it is an experience above 60 frames per second, while the maximum settings, it is pretty much like all the other Unreal Engine 4 games. With the maximum settings you can expect an average above 60 frames per second, but with occasions where the game will run below 60s. At 1440p with the median settings you can expect an experience above 60, and at 4K with the median settings you can expect an experience between 30 to 40 with some occasional dips below 30 frames per second. So wrapping all the things up, 1080p high settings provides an experience above 60, 1440p median provides also an experience above 60, but 1080p maximum settings it has 60 frames per second with drops, and 4K median provides above 30 frames per second with drops. Alright, so about the settings, I can actually notice the difference in graphics between maximum settings and high settings. These usually don't happen, but I noticed very well on the reflections. While on the high settings you can notice very easily the screen space reflections on the floor, the maximum settings it seems to not reflect as much stuff, or it is simply much well filtered. So yeah, that's pretty much the only difference that I have noticed. Possibly better shadow resolution, but that is one thing that I need to talk about in here, is that this first level of the game, which you are actually seeing in here on the video, it is quite demanding. After you finish this level, you get to some sort of a big city which you can explore, and it is during daytime and you have tons of shadows and stuff like that, and yet for some reason the game runs much better than it runs on this level. So the maximum settings on the second level just runs way and above 80 frames per second, alright? It's just that the high settings, thanks to this camera post-processing of the smartphone and stuff like that, the frame rate really tanks a lot at some points, and that's why I do recommend you to go with the high settings, because the high settings provides 60 frames per second and above and beyond in all occasions that I have tried. And so I believe that the high settings, it is really the settings you should go with the GTX 1650 Super. The median settings offers a bigger downgrade than I was expecting. First of all, on this first level you can notice that the draw distance of the lightning effects and shadowings are just near the character, so you can't really spot lightning effects at the distance. Also, all the reflections, all the screen space reflections just disappear. There is no screen space reflections. Also, during the daytime mission, on the median settings, all the buildings and lamps and wires above you, they don't cast any shadow. All those shadows are just static, coming from the textures, and the only dynamic shadows that I have noticed is just from the moving objects, alright, which makes the game, pretty much bland. It doesn't look bad, but it looks bland. And despite I don't really show you the second level on this mission, I decided to just simply tell you. So what about the game? I mean, DreadOut 1 and DreadOut 2, the DLC that they had, it was, like I said, about Fatal Frame or Project Zero. So the objective it is to, you know, attack ghosts with your camera. In this case, we have a smartphone, thanks to the time. During the Fatal Frame, you had actually a camera, but yeah, we evolved and now smartphones are useful. These Indonesia studio are very indie, so I remember the first photo that I saw about this studio. It was full of people with CRT monitors, with barely any condition to develop. I think I have mentioned that on my DreadOut 1 video. And they really evolved. They now have a decent studio in it. Probably they have more people, I don't know. But surely they now did develop the game with Unreal Engine 4, which makes the game looks very nice. But still, I think that's they missed a lot of stuff. I mean, the horror and the atmosphere, it is simply amazing. It is in here. I felt horrified with the sound, with the music, and with all these ambiances. It is simply amazing. But as for the story and as for the gameplay, it is quite bad. Especially the boss fights, they are pretty bad. Also, there are some big bugs, but Digital Happiness, it is releasing patches to fix it, and I'm fully confident that they will do it properly. But yeah, the gameplay, I was expecting a bigger upgrade comparing to the first game, which seems to be, yeah, pretty much the same. It's just they evolved a lot graphically thanks to Unreal Engine and nothing more than that. And that's the way that I feel. Even the animations during cutscenes are a little bit laughable, because they are quite bad. When you start the second level, it is just awesome during the cutscenes. Awesome in the bad way, alright? So yeah, I think they do recognize that this is a very indie game, despite, yeah, they made or well done. But I think they do recognize that, because you can buy this game from Steam for 15 euros. I think it's an awesome price for a release game. It is really cheap, and I think you should really get it if you care about horror games, and especially games that bring spirits and stuff like that, or if you played Fatal Frame before during the PS1 time. This is probably the best game that you will find that are a successor from Fatal Frame. Alright, it is DreadOut. Alright guys, I think that's all that I want to talk about DreadOut 2. Hope you keep enjoying the rest of the video, and I do hope to see you soon. Goodbye.
Oh my god, 1,000 views already? Notification gang, holla! So, you guys have heard about this evil Linda, right? She's the one that caused all these accidents lately. She's the absolute worst. Friends are dead! Ida, Selly, Yaya, and Donnie, Miss Siska, D-E-A-D. Ah, she finally decided to show up. Let's get this vengeance party started!
Mana dia kene?